Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL44 coming at you in another video. All right, so let's further our conversation because I thought it was a foregone conclusion that the Lakers would be willing to use the 29 pick in a different deal, but I don't think I've made it as clear as what's being said right now. The Lakers, from what I understand, are interested in possibly using that pick to possibly get Eric Gordon or Buddy Hield. Now we've talked about this already. You guys follow me. You know we this is not new news at all. But I think in the presence of all this conversation about the pick, maybe it might be perceived that I've gotten lost in that idea that maybe we would be willing to use the pick anyway if we're not giving up both of them to acquire Kyrie Irving. But the understanding is still aligned because if we were to give up that pick in a deal that gets us back Buddy Hield or Eric Gordon, you can still see paths to recoup the value of the pick somehow. Now, you probably can't trade Eric Gordon for a first round pick or Buddy Hield for a first round pick. But what you can do is have the flexibility represented to allow you a path to receive a first round pick some other way. So, if for example, it's complicated, but if for example I make a move like that, give up the pick to bring back Buddy, now in theory, maybe somewhere down the road, I can make a move with Buddy that brings me back something that I could reacquire to get a pick. You see what I'm saying? Because of the value that he brings in automatically. It may not be a pick, but it may be a couple of steps away from a pick, which ultimately recoups the value anyway. So what I'm saying to you is, if we're giving up the 27 and the 29 pick in a trade for Kyrie Irving, essentially what we're doing is throwing the pick in, letting it evaporate, letting it simply evaporate. And so that is what you want to refrain from having happen. If we're able to keep that pick and use it in a different deal, it is not effectively evaporating. We've used its value for what it is that we wanted it to be. And see, that's the difference. That's the point. So it's equivalent to keeping the pick. If you follow my last video, then you understand what I'm trying to say is the market will still see us moving the 29 pick in a separate deal as us retaining the value that's more so what we shouldn't have based on the whole conversation we've already had. So I hope that made some sense here without breaking down what's already been said for 30 minutes. But, you know, the bottom line is as long as we can use the pick in a separate deal, we're still a leg up on the market according to the market. But if we throw in that pick and let it evaporate, then we're effectively back to where we should be according to the market. It seems, and this is all my speculation, of course. So, yeah, that's understood. The Lakers want Buddy Hield and Eric Gordon. We know that. We want those players because I don't think Kyrie Irving is enough shooting for what our needs are going to be. And even though we've picked up this elite shooter in Cole Swider, I don't know that he's going to be good enough defensively in the big leagues right away for us to keep him on the floor as much as we're going to need him. So that's my concern. What are we going to give up to keep his elite shooting on the floor? Now, bottom line is he's going to be playing next to Anthony Davis. So whatever the defensive issues are going to be, Anthony's going to be able to erase a lot of them. And we're going to be running up the score anyway, especially if Kyrie Irving's on the team. But I'm saying in certain situations, you know, it's going to be incumbent upon us to use TB a lot, and that 3-point shot's going to have to be falling in order for our spacing to look really, really good, in my opinion. So it's a lot of different things the Lakers can do if they are not able to make a deal that gets them Buddy Hield, but we look a lot better, or Eric Gordon, of course, if we were able to get one of those two players, in terms of the spacing on the floor and just having enough shooting to compete from night to night, and especially in the playoffs. Now, preferably, who would I rather have, Buddy Hield or Eric Gordon? I honestly don't know, man. And the reason why I say I don't know is because EG's one of those guys who's been really durable for the last 5 years, but he started his career off injury prone as hell. And I'm always weary that a guy is going to go back to that. Even though conditioning, the way it works is if you have a couple good years, you probably should be able to knock that off. Think Steph Curry and his ankles. So all in all, I'd love to have the EG in. Wouldn't hesitate to bring him in. and wouldn't have a problem using the 29th pick in THT to do so. I don't think I have a problem doing that. Based on our needs, I think he has a 2-year deal or something like that. I think it's 2 years, 19 million. And that was the thing. I did the trade tracker for EG, and it's real tricky. I don't know how we're going to be able to do that without incorporating players we don't want to give up. We got that $2 million trade exception from Rondo. We got the THT contract, but that doesn't equal 18. So I'm not really sure how we're going to do that. I really don't. We might have to end up throwing in some players we have no business throwing in to get Eric Gordon, or Eric Gordon would have to be a part of a three-team deal. That's the only 2 ways I see us acquiring Eric Gordon. He would probably come with Kyrie Irving. That's how they would probably incorporate that, with the Rockets in our deal with the Brooklyn Nets. It's the only way I see us getting him, honestly. Because otherwise, we're giving up players like Wenyen Gabriel and Stanley Johnson just to bring them in. That's not what we're doing. I don't see us doing that. So, also with Buddy Hield, his situation is a little different because his contract's more expensive. 2 years, 22. He's making 11, I believe, a year. I think that's 22. I think that's what I saw there. So, if that is the case, you could put in THT, and of course, the numbers would even be more so difficult to maneuver. So you would still have to incorporate a third team in doing that. So, yeah, it's a lot, man. I think Russell Westbrook's going to be probably moved with that piece. Even though we're looking to do separate deals, it would more so be one deal in my mind's eye. To make the numbers work, yes, it's a separate deal because we're incorporating a third team to do business with. But that doesn't mean that the deal encompassed won't have that third team bringing other things to Brooklyn, because it most likely will. Does that make any sense? It's a separate deal. It's not a separate deal. That's exactly what it is. Anyway, so yeah, that's how that's probably going to be framed, you guys. That's probably how I see that framing out, because otherwise the numbers don't make no sense. So we're giving up Austin Reeves and Wenyen Gabriel and Stanley Johnson just to bring in a shooter, and now we've created problems where there weren't any to plug up a hole that we had. So no, that's not going to help you. So yeah, Rob has some stuff on tab, but I just don't see us being able to make any of those moves without the other move being made anyway. So that's really what it comes down to. I think that's what the negotiations, if I'm just speculating behind the scenes based on what I'm seeing in tea leaves, I would imagine the speculation is going to be some variation of, you know, what would Brooklyn be willing to take back from the third team or something like that? What could be incorporated to allow us to keep the pick from having to be incorporated in the deal? And can the Lakers find a way to do that? And the only thing that I say, and this is what I've been telling everybody probably now for about a month, the only real way I see us being able to not have to throw in that pick is if we throw in Austin Reeves. Now, I use Austin Reeves' name specifically because I think he's the most valuable young player we have right now. He's the best young player we got right now. Now, you know, once people get a whiff of Jay Huff and Swider, I think they're probably going to want to put those players in that deal too. So it depends on if they realize those guys are good yet or not. Will determine whether or not we'll have to throw in one of those guys. But I'm telling you right now, if they're paying attention to the Lakers like I am, you ain't getting a deal done without throwing in Cole Swider. I'm just being honest with you. I'm just going to say something that I hope nobody else agrees with, but I'm taking that shooter from you if I'm on the other side of the negotiation table. So these are the type of things I'm just hoping nobody else thinks about. And as we go forward, if we don't want to give up that pick, that's what ultimately is going to happen. So, yeah, man. I just think it's somebody that we want to see on the team is not going to be here, man. Just plain and simple. Whether it be that pick or Stanley Johnson, Wenyen Gabriel, Austin Reeves, one of them dudes we just picked up, even though I don't think we can trade them yet, which makes it even more likely we trade away one of those young guys that I just mentioned. Huff, Swider, you know, I think it's more than likely Christie is involved in something because his contract's so small. You know what I mean? Second round player, you kind of just throw him in. So I could totally see us doing that. But there's a sentimental thing with Christie that I don't think is blind. I don't think anybody's blind to. He looks just like Kobe. So I think they want him from a marketing standpoint. If that's the case, he's probably untouchable low key. Yeah, probably. He looks just like Kobe. So maybe not, but just in theory, in terms of what you can do, you definitely throw in some young player like that. For the numbers, it's easy to do, and they're usually attractive pieces for teams like Brooklyn. So, Yeah, that's what we're looking at, you guys. I just know better. I know this deal is taking too long. This situation with Russell Westbrook, he ain't gonna be on the team to start the season by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's probably 1% chance he's a Laker to start the season after this week, 1%. And now it's just about how we're going to make the deal. Are we gonna throw in the pick or are we gonna throw in the Reeves? It's gonna be one or the other. I'm gonna jump ahead of the game. And just tell you the truth. That's what it is. That's what it is. Either you're gonna throw in the pick or you're gonna throw in the Reeves. Pick one, Lakers. That's what the market's gonna tell you. That's exactly what they're gonna say. I know it. I hate it. I hate it. You understand what I'm saying? I hate it. And I got a good mind to throw in the pick instead of giving up the player, mind you. Because I think that much of what he can bring to the table going forward. And I also think he can play himself up to being a first round pick level player before it's over with. Put it like this. By year 3, he'll be as good as some of them first round picks. So that's why I'm like, I know he's a second, undrafted player, but I also know what he's bringing to the table, and he put on 20 pounds of weight at the end of his first summer. Like, that is serious stuff right there. So if he turns into Gordon Hayward, don't be surprised. I told you already. So this is one of those situations where if it's between Austin Reeves and the 29 pick, I'm throwing in the pick. I am. I'm just going to tell you the truth. I love the pick a lot because I know what it can get us out of. But we need talent, man. That pick ain't coming for another 9 years. How long are we? 7 years before we see that pick flourish into something? And at the end of the day, the way things are going, the only thing that pick is going to be good for is getting us out of a mistake. Get that pick out of here if that's what it's going to be. If it's going to be between that and giving away Austin Reeves, a young player that I think could potentially be an all-star 6-7 years from now, yeah, no, not do that. You re-sign Reeves, you have his money ready, and you let go of the pick if you're looking for Brandon's preference on the situation. And that's just me as a fan. I'm telling the truth. Because the way I see it is, man, we already let Caruso walk, man. That was a mistake, yo. That was a huge mistake. We should have totally had Caruso's money. And we shouldn't let that happen with every player that our scouts find in the back of the draft. You're just letting their hard work go out the window, man. Got some of the best scouts in the league, and it's not represented on this team. It's represented on other teams. And I keep saying that. No, let their talent be shown in the reflection of what we're doing. Because we got some of the best scouts in the world. So that's why I want us to acquire picks, because I want to see that flourish. I know if you give these guys the first pick in the draft for 7 years in a row, we would have the greatest team ever. That's how good I believe our scouts are. Well, that's kind of scared because obviously the first pick, but you know what I'm trying to say, man. We got them. We're good as Golden State, if not better. So, with that being said, I think we should value picks, but not so far out ahead that we're giving up talent that can help us for over the next 4 or 5, 6, 7, even all the way up until that year. Which Austin definitely can do, in my opinion. So, all in all, that's how I'm looking at it. I'm sure most of Laker Nation agrees with me, man. I don't want to give up. I would much rather trade the 12-year-old. I really would, honestly. But anyway. So, that's where I'm at with things. I want to clarify that. I want to give you guys the update. I think the Lakers are going after EG. I think they're going after Buddy Hield. And I think there could be another player pop up, somewhere that we're not thinking about as well that may be available to us as well. I think about a guy in Orlando by the name of Terrence Ross. And I know his contract's a bit much, but he's just another guy in that same vein who could do those same things that we've been looking at for the same amount of time. That's Buddy Hield. In fact, longer. So I know he just re-upped last year. He's kind of lost on their bench. I think Orlando's an up-and-coming team. He's probably going to be an intricate piece to their spreading the floor and stuff like that for them. Now that they got Paolo Banchero, I'm sure he'll be playing meaningful ball very soon if he stays there. But I just think he's also a piece that if we strike out on those other two, or if they're a little more expensive, he would be a lesser expensive, I believe, piece in terms of acquiring than EG or Buddy Hield, I think. I think he'll be less expensive. And pretty much provide that same type of thing. You're getting the same thing from him. So, yeah, man. That's what I'm thinking. That's what's on my mind. I wanted to give you all that. Don't trade our guys. Trade the kid. The little kid. The one that's not going to be here for another 9 years. That's the one to trade. But if you can keep from trading that one, definitely keep from trading that one too. Obviously, we want to give ourselves as much flexibility. So if we can get those 2 separate deals done specifically, I would be willing to do the 2 1-for-1 deal, whatever the heck that would be described as in that 3-team deal. So that's what I got to say, man. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching.